to Covering the Fields with your host, Joe Ellison.
Hello, sports fans. From the Capitol Barbershop, the oldest barbershop in Carson City, who prides themselves on being an old-fashioned barbershop. Welcome to Covering the Field, a weekly program that analyzes all sports, handicaps them, and makes predictions. I'm your host, Joe Ellison, and today we're going to talk about college basketball, the NFL, hockey, the NBA, racing, and our You Got Host segment. We'd like to remind you listeners to email us at coveringthefield@gmail.com. Please give us your feedback, tell us your You Got Host stories, and visit our coveringthefield.com website daily to check out our many articles and our picks of the day and week. Find us on Twitter at coveringfield. Now, tipping things off this week, I'd like to introduce our men's basketball, college basketball expert, Big Richard Martin. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. It's great to be in the barbershop here. I mean, it's the oldest barbershop in Nevada, or in Carson City, right? And then they have the oldest barbers, too. I think it's a couple of the oldest barbers. No, they're not the oldest barbers. But they have some great views. It's a great fishing show that's on right now. Some people are cut above, but they're a butt above any haircut place you can get anywhere. Keeps the head straight. Everybody's paying attention while they're getting their haircut. You can get a good old number one anytime you want from these guys.
It's time for the big dance, Big Rich. With 2 games tonight and 2 games tomorrow, then 16 games on both Thursday and Friday. It's been 3 years since different cities and time zones have actually hosted the games. We're actually having crowds at the games. Obviously, in 2020, there was no tournament because of COVID. In 2021, they were in Indianapolis. First of all, did anyone, you think, get snubbed out of the tournament?
Well, I thought Xavier should have had an invite. They didn't get in. But, you control your own destiny. You get double digits loss and you get 9 or 10 losses. You shouldn't be in there. So you have no one to believe but yourself. Win your conference tournament and you're in the tournament. So we got who we got. We don't want no crying. We'll leave that up to Crying Murray from Arizona.
Right. Kryler Murray. Your conference picks actually went pretty well. I think you went like 8-4.
Yeah, we had 8 out of 12 conference winners we predicted last week. And we also predict Purdue and Iowa in the finals. We also UCLA and Arizona. So we called some pretty good shots last week.
Excellent job. First of all, do you have any thoughts on the 4 play-in games on Tuesday and Wednesday? Obviously, the listeners won't be able to make bets on the Tuesday games, but any thoughts or predictions that you see might be happening, any stories?
Well, I definitely like Rutgers to beat Notre Dame. I think they could even get a first round win, maybe make it the 32, maybe the Sweet 16. There's going to be some upsets coming out. And also, I like Bryant. They're getting 3.5 over Wright State. I like Peter Kiss out there as a stud, leading the national basketball in points per game.
Well, I also like Rutgers +1 tomorrow. We're in agreement on that one. Last year, in the first round, according to my numbers, underdogs went 17-13 against the spread. 1 game was a pick'em, and 1 game got canceled due to COVID. Big Rich, let's start off in the West bracket. Do you have any thoughts or picks in the first round?
Well, yeah, let's look in the West, how the West is going to be won this year. Gonzaga is the number 1 seed, probably the number 1 seed overall. I think they're number 1, them or Arizona. Gonzaga must be the number 1 seed because they got the West.
They were the number 1 seed.
Okay, so I'm saying they ain't got a bulldog chance to get through that. I'm telling you, it's going to be upset city this year. Watch the upsets. So talking about the West, how the West is going to be won. I think Memphis has a great chance. They're going to meet Gonzaga. They've won 9 out of their last 10 games. They're hot. They didn't win their tournament like I predicted, their conference tournament, but I do see them as one of the better teams, and they might upset the Zags. So I see that going on. I see Arkansas. I love the SEC this year. I think they're going to do good. Texas Tech should make a run at them. Duke will probably cruise all the way through till they meet Texas Tech. But I'm going to pick the Arkansas Razorback, the Hogs. I'm saying the Hogs go wild. It's an outside pick. They're the number 4 team in that bracket. I say they upset the Bulldogs.
Okay, I'm going to take some point spread picks. I'm going to take a shot on Fullerton State plus the 17.5 against Duke. Duke looked a little shaky at the end of the year. Last year, UC Santa Barbara lost by 1 to Creighton, and the year before, UC Irvine actually won a game. I think the Big West is historically a little underrated. I'm going to take, and you already made a prediction. You like Arkansas, and I also like Arkansas and ex-Nevada coach Eric Musselman. They did make it to the Elite 8 last year. I wouldn't be totally stunned if Vermont beat them in the first round, because Vermont's really good.
They are good. They definitely just rolled right through their conference play. They look like one of the upsets everybody's picking. But, I think Arkansas gets up and down the court really well, and they shoot the 3 ball very good.
Connecticut plays great D. 2nd in the country in block shots, 10th in rebounding. They beat Auburn and Villanova. They certainly have a shot. Gonzaga obviously led the country in scoring. You got Duke down there, Coach K with 12 Final Fours and 5 championships. That's going to be a fairly loaded bracket right there.
Yeah, they definitely got upset by Virginia Tech, and there you go, huh? Virginia Tech, they definitely got a surprise win, but no one's surprised out there. The Hokies did a real good job in the ACC.
Yes, they did. Let's move on to the East now.
Okay.
Who do you think are good picks in the first round?
Well, look at the East is definitely a beast of a bracket. Baylor's going to have a tough time coming out of there. I mean, their second game is going to have to be either Marquette or UNC. They should roll over Norfolk. You got UCLA, last year a Final Four team. They were a play-in team, and they made it to the Final Four. You can't count those guys out. You have Virginia Tech, who won the ACC. They're in that division as a number 11 seed. And then you got Kentucky coming up from the bottom. So you also have Purdue, which got upset by Iowa in the Big Ten tournament, but I see Purdue coming out. I'm going to say Purdue takes the East.
All right. I'm not going to take Purdue coming out of the East, although that's a good pick. I'm going to give out some spread picks first. I'm going to try Akron plus 15.5 against UCLA. Did you know that the Mid-American teams have won a game in 3 consecutive NC2A tournaments? For some reason, every year they're a little underrated. I'm not going to say they're going to beat UCLA, but I think they can hang.
Right.
I like Virginia Tech plus the 1.5, like you said, versus Texas. They just beat Duke, and they won 14 out of the last 16 games. Virginia Tech on fire right now.
Yes.
I'm taking Murray State plus 1.5 versus San Francisco. The Racers went 18-0 in the Ohio Valley Conference.
Right.
Great rebounding team. I love teams that go undefeated in their own conference. I don't care what conference that is.
Right.
And I'll try St. Peter's plus 17.5 against Kentucky. And I love Yale getting 15.5 against Purdue. Don't underestimate the Ivy Leaguers.
Well, they're definitely smart.
Yes, they will play smart. That goes without saying. And you did pick Purdue to come out of the East. This is probably the toughest one for me to pick. I'm going to take UCLA just because of last year's experience of going all the way to the Final Four after starting in the play-in game. Baylor could be the first number 1 seed out of the tournament. They got North Carolina possibly in the second round.
Yeah, the 32 round, they definitely could get bounced by Marquette or the Tar Heels.
And that'll open up the bracket big time. Now, let's take a look at the Midwest. What looked like good picks to you out of that first round?
Well, Kansas, out of 6 out of the 8 last year, they've been the number 1 seed out of the Midwest. So it's nothing new for them. But Iowa is sitting at number 5 right there. And Iowa's probably one of the hottest teams right now, as I predicted 2 weeks ago at 100-1 odds. You could have got them for a $10 bet, could have get you $1,000. And today, they're 30-1. So that would have been a good pick. I pick them. I'm hoping Iowa wins it all, because that's $1,000, and I'm just going to go. But all my brackets, I'm going to go against that just to hedge my bet a little bit, maybe win some stuff on some other good teams that are still out there. So Keegan Murray and Chris Murray, the twins that are out there. Iowa doesn't. They shoot the three ball really well, but in the final game against Purdue, they shot like 10% in the first half, and they still got the win. So it shows you they play great defense. Even when the three ball's not going, they still can win.
Right. Well, I'm going to throw out some spread picks at you. You have to love South Dakota State. Plus 2.5 against Providence.
Well, absolutely. You just said that you like them. They were 18-0 also in their conference,
yes.
the Summit Conference. And they rolled right through theirs like we predicted. They smashed everybody in their tournament. So that's definitely a good first-round pick. Maybe even sneaking into the Sweet 16.
It wouldn't shock me one bit. The Jackrabbits were second in the country in scoring, led the nation in three-point shooting. What percentage do you think they shot at?
They were shooting at 45 to 46%.
45% three-point shooting.
So even if you're in the gym and no one's guarding you, you're shooting 45%. That's great.
Yeah.
I think they're definitely going to shoot. They're going to have to pull a Jackrabbit out of the hat to get past the Sweet 32 to get to the Sweet 16. But
yeah.
I think that's a great pick.
Their defense isn't the best, so maybe the over 149.5 points is also a good bet.
Yeah, but if you're shooting three-pointers, you don't need good defense because they're getting 2 points for every one of your threes.
Yep.
So, I mean, I think if you're shooting 45% from the three-point line, I think you have a good chance to win.
Yes. Jackrabbits and over looks like a pick. Colgate plus 9.5 against Wisconsin intrigues me, even though the game's in Milwaukee. The Raiders are an older group. They take care of the ball real well, and they're second in the nation in three-point shooting percentage. Miami, Florida, plus 1.5 against USC, I'll try, just because it's a chance to bet against USC. And I always take a shot against USC.
Yeah, they're still upset about them taking your college football coach, I think, for the Oklahoma Sooners. So
I just hate him even more now. And I'm going to take a shot on Jacksonville State, plus the 16.5 against Auburn. The Atlantic Sun Conference is also historically underrated, if you kind of look at.
Yeah, we talked about them last week. They didn't even win their conference, and they should have been a play-in game.
Yes. Well, yes. Bellarmine got the raw deal there because they weren't in the conference long enough. But I'm going to still say that's a pretty tough conference.
Okay.
So who is it you had making it out of the Midwest? I do believe you picked Iowa.
I'm going to take Auburn.
Oh, you're going to
I'm going to take Auburn on my bracket. I'm going to hope Iowa, the Hawkeyes, could give us a chance to win that. I'm hoping, but I think if we're talking about Auburn, they have such a strong team. So they have some great players out there. So I'm going to stay with Skywalker Kelser out there. He's 7'1". Being 7'1", Joe, do you know how many 7-footers are in the NCAA? 4. You think 4? Try 107 in AA. So their 7-footers not a big deal anymore, I guess. And I don't know how they're getting so tall, but
yes.
But they can't shoot. That's the problem.
Yep. Well, I'm picking
Brick the Rick.
Well, I am going to pick Iowa to come out of the
Attaboy.
out of the Midwest. They're fourth in the nation in scoring offense, lead the nation in assist to turnover ratio. And we were going to talk about 9 Big Ten teams actually got in the tournament this year, just like last season. Only 1 reached the Sweet 16, remarkably. I believe Iowa will do a little better than what Michigan did last year. They just made it to the Elite 8. I think Big Ten's due for a good tournament.
I do believe with that also.
Yes.
9 teams.
Yeah.
So you're telling me they got a chance? No, I think that, the SEC, I definitely like Jabbar Smith Jr. at Auburn and, Walker Kessler, like I was saying, Skywalker Kessler, they're both first-round picks.
Well, if it comes down to Auburn against Iowa, that's going to be an amazing game.
Well, let's hope that's what it is because I can't lose either way.
You can't lose. Beautiful. And finally, Big Rich, let's cover the South. What are some good picks for the first round in the South?
Well, it's going to be a bloodbath in the South. I can tell you that right now. There's some. You got Arizona down there, but I'm thinking they get knocked off. You got Houston and Illinois, both coming out of the same bracket. They could face them in the Sweet 16 round. Houston got to the Final Four last year. They just won their conference bracket. Finally got over Memphis. Houston looks like a strong pick, but I like Tennessee. I'm going to take Tennessee to outdo everybody. They won their SEC bracket. I think that they're going to be good in with their conference win. I think they're on a roll right now.
Okay, and in the first round, I'm going to take a shot on TCU plus 1.5 against Seton Hall. Just a hunch. They had some good wins this year, TCU. In the Big 12, Loyola Chicago I like, getting plus 1.5 against Ohio State. You got to go with 102-year-old Sister Jean.
Yeah.
A starting lineup of 4 seniors and 1 junior, shooting in the top 10 in the country in three-point percentage. I love teams that can shoot the three. And finally, I'll take Longwood plus 16.5 against Tennessee. How can you not like Longwood on the hardwood?
All right.
Longwood's got some size and will hang eventually. The Volunteers will look him in the eye and beat him, but I'm not going to lay the 16.5.
Okay.
So I am also going to take Tennessee because of their defense to come out of the South. They cause a lot of turnovers, block
Absolutely.
shots, make
Yeah.
steals. They are, they're
They
on
got
a
great
roll.
point guards, and they're deep, so they've got great front court.
Right. When you're predicting a national champion, now there really is no rhyme or reason to it. At-large teams, schools that didn't win their conference championships, have won 6 of the last 7 titles. And a team as low as a 7 seed, Connecticut, in 2014 won it all. Who have you got cutting down the nets?
Well, I'm going to stick with Auburn. I think Auburn has the size. Like I told you, Jabbar Smith. I'm hoping that it's Iowa, but I'm betting on Auburn.
I've got a 3, 2 4s, and a 5 in my final 4. So the committee is telling me basically I'll have none of them right. But I'll guess Iowa beats Arkansas in the final.
Okay.
That would be an amazing final.
That would be a great up and down the court. But, Keegan Murray's, they're projecting him to be the number 1 pick. And, he's 6'8" and plays like a point guard.
Yeah.
And he does it all. So he's averaging 24 points a game. He's had 10 30-point games. This guy can fill it up.
Now, if you're going to be watching the big networks, they're going to be picking a lot of Gonzaga and Arizona to win it all.
Absolutely. They're number 1.
Yes. Any thoughts about that? Obviously, we don't have them in there.
Right. Well, when you're doing the NCAA, everybody's got a chance. There's going to be upsets. There's no way to predict it. No one's even ever done a perfect bracket. There's 8 million brackets on the mothership right now, and not one of them will hit.
Right.
There'll be some upsets when the three-point line makes everything. If you don't shoot the 3 well in one game, you're going to have to get lucky somewhere down there in the bracket to get to the finals.
Continuing with March Madness action is handicapper rockin' Ronnie McKinnon. How's it going today, Ronnie?
Joe, I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Terrific. I know you also follow the men. What did you think of Big Rich and my predictions?
Well, they're kind of different and all over, and that's cool. I'm looking at actually Texas Tech and Tennessee being the final 2 teams there to play each other.
Texas Tech, that would be a big upset.
Yeah.
Tennessee, we're big on Tennessee.
And
do you have any spread predictions for the first round?
I don't.
Okay, all
I
right.
don't. Then I'm looking at
Your final 4 picks?
actually
Texas Tech,
Kentucky
Tennessee,
and Auburn.
Kentucky and Auburn.
Yep.
That's 3 SEC teams.
Well,
That'd be pretty
that's what
dominant.
I'm looking at.
for SEC.
That's what I'm looking at.
Okay. You're just looking at bracket by bracket. You're not really looking at it overall, kind
Well,
of.
no, I did it from the beginning of
Yeah.
who against who and all
Right.
that. I had UCLA right up there to the end, and also I was thinking of Purdue. I also had I was looking at Gonzaga and Arizona, but and also Baylor and Kansas, of course. But
Right.
but I did it from the beginning. But that's what I ended up with in those
Okay.
4.
And who will you have winning it all?
I'm thinking Auburn.
Auburn?
Yeah.
Uh-oh. That's the same thing that Big Rich said.
Did he? I didn't know that. I remember him talking about Auburn, but I don't know I didn't know that's who he picked. But that's who I'm thinking.
Yeah, I've got Auburn getting beat on the way to the Final Four. So we'll see how those picks go.
We'll see. Yeah, it'll be fun to watch, no doubt. And some other bracket pools and stuff, and it's always fun.
So, Big Rich, you're also our football expert on the show, and the NFL certainly had some news this week. What might have been the biggest story?
Maybe he's back. Tom Brady has a 2-week retirement and decides, you know what? I have something else to prove, which we also did put on the show. Like, I don't see Tom going out that way, not sitting on the sidelines with a bloody lip, and that'd be his last game.
Yeah. We both thought that wouldn't be his last game, but as time moved on, it kind of seemed like maybe it would be. But then again, we were right all along.
We made some good predictions this year.
Yes, and how can you go wrong with a guy who's won 7 Super Bowls? There's a lot of 49er fans crying right now, thinking that Brady was coming to San Francisco.
Yeah. Yep. Oh, Jeff thought right here. He thought for sure. He told me while I was getting my haircut that he was coming to San Francisco to finish out his career.
Well, that might still happen. It just might be 2-3 years from now.
Yeah. Well, I'm just not going to say Tom Brady's ever out. He could probably be 7 years old still playing football.
Yeah, he could be. On his Twitter account, LFG on the end. And you know what LFG stands for?
No idea.
Let's effing go.
Oh.
Tom.
Yeah, exactly. Jeff
Tom.
told me that when it was my turn to get a haircut.
So what else was in the news in the NFL?
Well, the thief of the night happened to your Cowboys. They said Randy Gregory was signed a 5-year, $70 million contract, and the next morning he did sign that contract, but for the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, Randy Gregory has been nothing but like a choking stench to the Cowboys. He's just the worst.
Yeah.
We draft him, we get him, and then he gets on drugs and he's suspended.
Right. He's
Then
had
he
over
comes back.
100 positive tests for
Yeah.
drugs for the
Yeah.
Dallas.
He's been suspended so many times, and now we babysit this guy and take care of him and let him play, and then he just leaves just like that.
Well, I think he likes the rustle and the muscle going to Denver and sees a pretty bright future out there in the blue and orange.
Well, I feel a little jilted, but that leaves the possibility of Von Miller maybe,
Oh, yeah.
Chandler Jones.
He's put that on his Twitter account that he wants to come there. He wants to finish his career in Denver, and this would be a perfect time to come back.
Well, maybe end up in Dallas now.
Well, he does own property in Dallas, so
well, there you go.
he has a farm down there. So.
It opens up the possibility of someone else.
You're
going in
always optimistic about
Yes.
your Cowboys.
there. I have to be. How about our buddy Deshaun Watson? Certainly, is kind of the police blotter kind of news a little while ago,
Right.
but now.
Yeah, all criminal charges are dropped. No criminal charges, so he's ready to play football. If you want somebody with 20 civil sexual allegations, I mean, I thought he'd be a perfect fit maybe for Washington.
Yes, it would. Now, how the heck do you have 22 allegations and they're all dropped? How is that possible?
Well, we don't know for sure
Okay.
what happened with them. I mean, we weren't there. Everybody's innocent until proven guilty, and obviously they can't prove him guilty.
Well, yeah, that's hard to believe. Well, he did have a career best 33 TDs his last season.
Yeah, with no receivers. They traded his best receiver, and they still had 43 touchdowns.
So I guess they're looking at the talent, not the. They're
Character.
going to ignore all the other stuff.
Exactly. Well, if there's smoke, there's fire, and there's 22 allegations. There's probably a little bit of fire there.
Right. Any other? Yes, that was a grand jury that let him go too. Very
What
interesting.
about Christian Kirk, the guy you talked about last year on the trade deadline? I mean, can the Cardinals be any more stupid? I mean, they could have looked at what the Broncos did. You rent your player out, Von Miller, and he comes back the next year, and you get a second and a third, and you're able to get your franchise quarterback in Russell Wilson, and it doesn't even cost you any draft picks.
So is Devontae Adams actually going to stay with Green Bay? I mean, I guess he's got a franchise tag, but he's
Yeah, they tagged him, and he says, I'm untaggable. So, like when he played tag.
Oh, nice. So we'll
So
see.
he said he's not playing, so I'm probably sure he'll go to Denver too.
So Rogers will be the only one left.
Yeah, he'll have all the money and no receivers to throw to.
Yes. So I guess that civil suit for Watson will certainly make a difference. There's one lawyer representing all 22 of those women, by the way.
So he's got a good paycheck coming, it looks like.
No doubt about it. We're not going to talk about Amari Cooper because that's not good. Not good for the Cowboys, but maybe it is in the long run. And Mitch Trubisky on Pittsburgh.
Yeah, he finally gets out of Chicago, and I think you're tripping if you think Trubisky's going to get you a Super Bowl title. But, I mean, he was a first-round pick. I think he was picked second overall for the Bears. So, I mean, I think they're trying to look to next year. There's a good quarterback class, as we've talked about in our college segments. Good class of quarterbacks coming out next year.
Next year. Well, thank you, Big Rich. And thanks for being on the show.
Well, it's great to be here at Capitol Barbershop. Great guys, great haircut. It's like an old-fashioned place. I think Clint Eastwood might walk in here sooner or later. It's definitely a great place.
Sounds good. Now, back to Ronnie with the women's basketball tournament. As far as the women are concerned, their tournament is also being called March Madness this year. And for the first time, 68 teams are invited. What predictions do you have for the tourney?
That's true. It is called March Man, and I think that's pretty cool that they did that.
Well, the women were complaining that they weren't
right.
getting as good a billing.
It's about
as
billing
the
and
men.
money and coin and all. It's all good. That's fine. I'm fine with that.
Things got to be even.
I followed the women's, quite a bit this year. And anyway, I'm down to North Carolina State, Louisville, and then I was toss-up between Iowa and South Carolina. I'm going with Iowa, and then also Stanford. And I talked about before. Talk about Iowa and Caitlin Clark.
Yes.
I've talked about her before, the guard there, pretty phenomenal. And also, actually, it was, with Aliyah Boston, the forward for South Carolina. But I'm going with Iowa, and against all of them, I'm going for it.
Iowa.
I'm going for it.
Could it be that Iowa could win the men's and women's
It's
tournament?
possible. It's possible. I mean, this is people say it's a long shot, Iowa, but you know what? I don't think it is.
Well, it did happen before. I believe
Yeah.
Connecticut did that
Yeah.
one time. So,
And
it's
so, yeah,
not unprecedented.
that's what I'm going with, even though, people, North Carolina State's good, Stanford,
Not sure. Well,
even Louisville. But
Connecticut got one of
and
their
South Carolina.
Star players back just now at
That's
the end of the
true.
season.
That's true.
So
And
they'll be improved.
that's true. And, South Carolina, they've stayed number one all year. And they're going to be tough, but I'm going with Iowa.
They're going for an upset. Nice. Well, as far as our local teams, the Nevada men should have won their Mountain West quarterfinal game against Boise State, but they didn't. They missed that three-pointer right at the
A
end,
good game. They lost by 2, yeah.
and their season ended. But the Nevada women got some good news. They were invited to the CBI tournament. It's an 8-team little mini tourney.
That's right. Friday, right? I think they play
Yeah.
Friday.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly when they play,
Yeah,
but
I think
they
the
are
first game is Friday with Davidson, I believe.
they
Is
are
that?
playing Davidson.
Right, okay.
And they'll be playing the winner of Cleveland State and Northeastern, I believe, next round. And they are guaranteed to play 3 games. So it's not like you lose once and you go home.
Right.
You're there for
Like no
three straight games.
No single or double elimination, right? You get to play 3, right?
Yes. But if you win all 3,
Right.
then you win the
There
tournament.
you go. No, that's cool. I'm glad.
And I must say it's a truly great year for Longwood, as the women also made the tournament. So, although they're not the only small school to do that, Montana State and Delaware also got their men's
right.
and women's
Right.
teams.
It's interesting. You guys were talking about earlier, and Big Rich was talking about it. It's you got the top teams that are expected to be there, and some of them are. They're not always there, and they don't always win the thing, but they do at times. But now this year, I don't know. I'm looking at some upsets myself. So
Yes, the women's tournament historically has been very dominated by the top teams.
Right.
But now it seems like the top teams aren't as strong as they used to
Right.
be. And
Exactly.
Those
I know.
lesser
Yeah. I
teams
mean, you
are
look
much
at the
better.
top two teams all year have been South Carolina and Stanford in women's, and they both obviously have a shot. But I'm still going with Iowa. That's what I'm
Okay.
doing.
Well, there was some other news that wasn't basketball that happened last week. You are a massive baseball fan,
I
my
am.
friend. I guess unless you're still under a rock somewhere,
Right.
maybe you haven't heard that the lockout ended after 99 days, and we're actually going to have baseball.
Yay. Go Dodgers. Come on, what? Really? I know you're giving him a hand. I got it. Okay. Joe, last Thursday, March 10th, MLB and the Players Association got a new collective bargaining agreement. The season will start April 7th. It's still going to be 162 games. The games that were canceled will be played. It will be played at the end of the season, and they will be 9-inning doubleheader games. And so that's how they'll make up for what they lost there. So that's a cool deal.
So, what are some of the changes to the league that we're going to experience with this new collective bargaining agreement?
Well, they increased the minimum salaries, which is great. A new pre-arbitration bonus pool to reward the top young players in the game. A raise in competitive balance tax threshold, which the MLB was holding off on, and they finally, gave in and raised them, and they'll go up a little bit as the years go on. The deal also included expanded 12-team postseason format, and that brings playoff games to 2 additional markets this year. I just hope that I'm always one of the that hope it doesn't end up being some teams that are 500 or under 500 or such. That happens a lot in basketball and hockey. So but anyway. Not something I'm crazy about, but that's cool. More playoff games.
With 12 teams, I don't think we're going to get a team under 500.
Yeah, it's just something that I always
I don't think it's going to be that bad.
concerned about, but most likely not. But it's a possibility. So,
Yes. It's always a possibility.
I think we're getting
Yes.
starting to get a little more parity, and hopefully, as time goes on with the new rules and stuff, we'll have more parity and more teams involved in having a chance to win.
Well, that first round of playoffs is going to be interesting because there'll be 4 teams on a bye. They're going to have to sit out for a few
Correct.
days, and then 8 best-of-3 series. So
That's right.
that could be maybe a disadvantage to
Yeah,
sit.
it's possible. It could be the
Just saying.
the changes affecting the 2022 season because of the new rules that say any player who finishes in the top 2 spots for Rookie of the Year voting will receive a full year of service.
Okay. Yes.
Instead of how many days they spent there, and then they go up and down, and so they're putting a stop to that, which I think is a good idea.
How about the designated hitter role?
Well, that's
What do you think of that? You are a National League guy.
I've kind of got used to it because of it's been in the American League for a while, and I follow them a lot, and I'm actually a Boston Red Sox fan. But and then of course we've had interleague play, where they've been playing each other, American National, when they play at the American League Park, they've used that. I'm okay with it.
Okay.
I think it's good. It opens up a lot of things for National League teams now, and including the Dodgers, right? They're talking about Freddie Freeman, which hasn't been decided yet. Of course, that excites me, just because we can move Muncy over and not play Lux, which I have a problem with. But anyway, we won't get into that.
Well, the players like the idea because now you will have an extra player on your roster.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I think it's great. It gives people some guys another chance. Like Nelson Cruz is a big one. Albert Pujols. I wanted to keep him on the Dodgers. these guys could still have some longevity because of having a DH in the National League. So I think that's cool. They're also banning the shift. I don't know if you've heard about that.
They're trying to keep the players on the dirt, I
Not-
guess. This is the way I heard it.
I'm not crazy about that. I mean, come on. They do it for a reason. And they say, oh, this guy pulls that way. Well, then the batter should start trying to go the other way.
I agree. I think you should be able to stand anywhere on the field.
Exactly. Me too. So I'm not crazy about that. I know the pitcher's clock is going to be something that's coming next year in 2023.
Perhaps.
Well, yeah, they haven't, not for sure.
Nope.
And then, of course, the enlarging the bases
Maybe.
from up to 18 inches from 15. That's a possibility. The other thing is that beginning in 2023, teams will play 5 fewer games against their division opponents.
Okay.
So instead, playing one series against every team in the other league. That's what they will do. So teams will continue to play.
I think that makes it a little more fair.
I think it does too. And of course, we used to play each other in our division, like Dodgers would play the Giants 19 times.
Yeah.
Now it'll be 16 actually, and it'll be more evened out.
It's not fair that one team, like one division, could play just one other division. They should play every other division.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
So I agree with that. I'm happy
I
with
totally
that.
agree
With that situation there.
Yeah.
The
Okay.
Oh, and one more thing. The lottery for the top 6 picks, which will be the most aggressive draft lottery in sports. Actually, the NBA lottery is for the top 4 picks. NHL is the top 2, and the NFL does not have a lottery. So
No.
I think it's a good idea.
All right. Well, the exhibition games start Thursday. The season starts April 7th. A bunch of free agents going to be moving around between now and then.
That's right. And your Oakland A's, Matt Olson, went to Atlanta, which is interesting because he's a solid first base defender and hitter. And so I think Atlanta's figuring that they are going to lose Freeman and Freddie Freeman. So we'll see what happens.
Another loss for my A's, of course. We can't afford to pay anybody.
Yeah, right, exactly. And there's one other thing, too. Unfortunately, Fernando Tatis Jr. got hurt.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He's out for 3 months with a fractured wrist, and that's sad news for, everybody involved, especially for a buddy of mine, a Padre fan. But, seeing somebody like that missing the, he's an exciting player, so.
Well, thank you, Ronnie. Thanks for being on the show.
Joe, thanks for having me.
Hopefully you all enjoyed the show, and join us again Wednesday for part 2 of this week's episode.
You've been listening to Covering the Field, a CM World Services and the Sage production.